Good evening, Professor.
Hi, good evening, good evening. Welcome.
How are you doing?
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening, Michael. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. How you doing?
All right, not too bad, my man. Not too bad. Let's get set together here. All right, good evening. Welcome, everybody. Let's give everyone a few minutes and we'll get started now. Say about 4 minutes and then we get started. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's cricket fever, so we're totally absorbed in cricket.
I don't think we stand a chance here.
I'm not going to answer that. It's not over till the fat lady sings. I know she's starting a bit of an opera tune there. She's really getting into the opera setup there, but no, let's just. I've still got it stuck here. I've just put the phone behind me so that it does not, because I'm going to focus on the lesson and just come off them. I sat last night for the semi-final. I was at the other semi-final for India versus Australia.
Yeah.
Here at the stadium. Oh, an amazing match. What a crowd. What a setup for Joe.
I live next door to the stadium, actually.
My son just told me, Dad, can you imagine somebody that stays next door over here? And I'm laughing because we said, God, you got to be nuts to live here. Oh, the traffic and everything was crazy out there, man.
Yeah, only at that time, but like I mean, it wasn't bad coming back from work because Ramadan I finished at 3. But I'm on the 20th floor. I actually look out and I can see the stadium, so I see all the
Oh,
traffic and
wow.
everything. Yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay. So for the finals, I'm coming up there. We will pop a golden share out there. We'll relax and
yeah,
watch the
sure.
final across. Oh, the tickets sold out so bloody fast after the match. I mean, 30 minutes, by the time we even got out the stadium, and there was nothing available. Everything was gone. Just amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Let's just wait for everyone to join in now. I've seen a lot of the memes come up, Michael, where they said they were selling, sorry, Sim, they were selling artichokes.
Yeah, jokes. Yeah.
Bottles of pickled artichokes out for them. A couple of the guys said, yeah, you don't know, if you're going to Woolies, they have some New Zealand brands as well, but it doesn't look like that at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Yeah, here we go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the class. It's going to be a brilliant session. We're looking forward to it. So welcome. Hope you're having a good evening. Got another 2 minutes. Let's give them another 2 minutes and then we get started. Yeah, everybody's coming in thick and fast now. Right, a minute more and then I'm going to get started. 7:33, I want to log off. Yeah, here we go. All right, brilliant, fantastic. Let's get started. It's 7:33. Everyone else will catch up with us as we get moving. Okay, so just to recap back at where we left off before we got into our case study, that very interesting case study that we had. We were looking at over here the characteristics of human resource management, which included they are involved in the strategic fit or integration between HR and business planning. That's vertical integration. And then on the horizontal basis, they're involved in the development of mutually supporting HR policies and practices. In addition to that, there's orientation towards commitment, treatment of people as assets rather than costs. That was the main function of human resource management coming in. A unitarist approach to employee relations, it assumes that there need to be no inherent conflict of interest between employers and employees, as well as the responsibility of line management for delivery of HRM objectives. Now, in terms of the third one there, the orientation towards commitment, do remember what I spoke about, the what's in it for me. Okay, and wrapping that up, there are 4 key policy goals of human resource management, which included strategic integration, high commitment, flexibility, and high quality. Taking all that and we wrap it up. Right, we also looked at the various functions of human resource management. We went through this in detail, including all this HR planning, staffing, performance management, training and development, compensation and benefits, industrial relations, as well as health and safety. So that brought us to the end of Monday's lesson, and we're ready to get started with today's lesson. However, there's a lovely conundrum to start us off with it. So if you're an HR manager in a company, so this is the typical question. I absolutely love this. If you're an HR manager in a company, whose side as a human resource practitioner should you be on? Should you be on the management or the workers? And what conflicts can occur between your position as a member of the management team and your special relationship with the workforce? It's always a catch-22. So what do you say? Where does HR stand? How do they balance the two? I've seen both sides of the coin. I've seen HR that are totally aligned to management, and they lose that attachment with the employees, and that whole breakdown of relations. And I've seen it on the opposite side as well, where HR are totally with the employees, and they lean strongly to that side. Where do you say? Got Michael first out of here. You can type in the chat box for me as well. Naqib, go for me, Naqib. Good evening.
Good evening. I think HR should always be in the side of employees actually, but we always see that HR are not doing their job properly. They are more taking the side of management. That is not the right approach for them. So actually human resource should always be aligned with the manpower. Otherwise, they will be of no use for the company. If they don't have the better side of the employees in front of management, then I think HR should not be there in any company.
So this is a conflict now, Naqib. You see, and the conflict has come in with the evolution of HR. When I talk of the evolution of HR, this is where the conflict has arisen.
Yeah.
So if we take it right up here, oh, come on. So when we look at the evolution of HR, we see that this last 2 decades has brought HR into strategic human resource management. And ultimately, that is where, sorry, just mute your mic there for me, someone, please. Ultimately, that is where the conflict arises, because HR should, their originality was for HR to be the go-between between the employees and the management, between the labor and the management. However, that role has evolved, and HR now take on a very strong management role, especially in the strategic aspect. And this is where we are seeing this gap that's forming. But you are right, it is a conflict. I've got Michael as well, a hybrid, both between management and employees. It's a tough balancing act. It's a tough balancing act. Nine Money says always on management side. I think
yes, indeed. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
someone
Sorry,
say something.
Mr. Anisham.
Go,
yeah.
go.
Sultan speaking. Yeah. I've seen it in many corporate level. The HRs they stay back on management side, and while practicing a little bit to employees, so they tend to be more on the management side. That's what I see it on. Yeah.
I don't know if you would agree with me. My perspective on it is management has exploited this function of HR, and their exploitation of human resource management functions has resulted in this convoluted or obscure, obtuse role of HR now, that HR now only belongs to management. They've exploited the job description and the roles of HR. And in a sense, HR has now been captured and has been captured by management. If you look at organization development, there is quite a strong leaning, as all of us are attesting, that HR lean to the management side, which in a large perspective isn't the correct option. Yes, they have a strategic role to play, but this is the gap that we're talking about, that this gap has formed where there isn't a neutrality to it as they're asking, or at least a representation. There isn't a representation. The labor force, HR just becomes a voice of management. They send things via HR now, which should not be happening. Everything is channeled via HR. HR makes this, HR announced this, HR announced that, HR announced that policy. When in reality, yes, it should have come to HR, but at the draft phase, and then HR should then approach and then have a negotiated base, and then there's a contribution from labor as well to include their opinion and their views on that there. Not to say that they should dictate how a business should be run, but there should be some sort of a relation between the two. And in my large opinion, I believe that, as I was saying, that management have exploited human resource management, particularly given this evolutionary aspect that has happened, and in such a way that it's captured now and it belongs. When you talk of human resource, you talk about it within the management sphere. We no longer speak of it as this having that function of having a role to play in labor. So maybe there's a future perspective that organizations would evolve again and would see the need for it, or will this completely become absorbed into a management function and be totally taken away? And the labor aspect, you would see a wider and wider gap coming out. Very interesting discussion. We could go on with that forever. And I love the chat that's coming up here on the chat box. Firol says HR should be neutral. Saeed Gazanfar says a neutral approach as well. Yes, that aligns with the best practices that are beneficial to the organization. George as well, HR should be neutral and fair on both sides, management and employees. In my old company, they changed the HR department to people and talent to avoid this. So you just put the icing on the cake, but it's the same thing. Nice one, Frost. Nice one. Absolutely nice one. Yeah, you just put the icing on there and you just, yeah, luckily I don't work in there. I would have told them that. You just iced it up just so that you avoid it. Wow, interesting. Okay, people and talent. Yeah, well, this is the crucial thing. So in a way, I agree with Firas. Then this is the whole. If we're looking at the future, where does the future of HR lie? And does it still retain the name human resource management? I'm beginning to understand that it's not, that the description would not remain because of the evolutionary processes that have been happening. As Firas is saying, we're going to start seeing this kind of people and talent role come up. So as we said, the talent acquisition manager, people manager, all new sort of titles are going to come up, and we're slowly going to see that change come about. I'm positive of that in terms of the future of organizational development. I fully see that happening. Where we would no longer speak of an HR department, but we'd speak of these employee wellness officer. That kind of perspective would come in. As they're saying, a talent manager would come in. Now, these were all traditionally falling under the human resource management function, but these would move away. And these would now come in, as he's saying, you'd now get a director of people's officer. They would then be overseeing all these features underneath them, which the organizations are realizing they need to respond to this conflict. There is definitely a conflict of interest here. And then the conflict of interest is lying in the origins of human resource management, which was a welfare officer. So employee well-being would give that kind of perspective. But by and large, they're not going to be the go-between to report back. They're only going to be organizing things like making sure you have a coffee, making sure you have proper breaks, you receive all the training materials, you're well supported. They run company events to do team building. Those kind of things would fall into their gambit. But this association, the link, I think has been broken. And I don't think there's any intention to rebuild that link. There needs to be that, there seems to be that need to maintain this separation. But it's my opinion. Okay, I love that. I absolutely love that. A nice discussion around that there. Right. So we're on to the next one now, which is, just to get that slide a little bit more right, strategic human resource management. And obviously, this is just what we are discussing, is this evolutionary role that has happened in the last 2 decades, where we've seen human resource management come under strategy. And so this leans very closely to the the quote that I gave you, which was, if you remember that correctly, the right person at the right place at the right time. The most simplified explanation of a strategic human resource management. The right person at the right place at the right time. And here it is. Strategic human resource management ensures that the organization's human resources are in the right place at the right time to secure the competitive advantage. The right person at the right place at the right time. That is the fundamental understanding of strategic human resource management. Very much in principle similar to your just-in-time inventory management principle, meaning that at the time that you require it, just when you need that resource needs to be available there and then at that correct moment. So it's the same thing. Just when you need your inventory is available. So in a way, strategic human resource management becomes the just-in-place person strategy or something. But it's just in time. It's very similar to that concept. Okay, let's go into our notes over here. And pick up where we stopped off. Right, so obviously what's then the key differences between traditional human resource management? Let me share the document again. So here are the key differences between traditional human resource management and strategic human resource management. I'm just trying to get out a sticky note out of here. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So the focus of the two are where the vast difference comes in. Can I have 1 minute? Right, so the traditional approach focused primarily on administrative tasks and routines that were related to HR, whereas strategic human resource management now focuses on aligning human resources with the organization's overall strategic goals and objectives. It emphasizes the strategic value of employees and seeks to leverage their skills and capabilities to gain a competitive advantage. Traditional HRM, with the primary objective of them is to handle day-to-day HR operation. These are things such as recruitment, selection, compensation, benefits administration, even performance management. However, with strategic human resource management, the objective over here is to implement human resource strategies that enhance organizational performance, employee engagement, as well as long-term competitiveness. So you see this whole evolution that has happened. And then in terms of the approach, traditional human resource management, they tend to adopt a functional approach. And this operates in silos with limited integration between human resource and other departments. So your finance department, they have their own staff. Your IT department has their own staff. The procurement department, their own. The marketing department. So each one is running on their own run. Now with strategic human resource management, its approach is to promote cross-functional collaboration, to integrate HR with business strategy, as well as the involvement of HR professionals in strategic decision-making. So the drive with strategic human resource management is to break these silos down and to create this hybrid organization that has a horizontal integration. That's the driver here. And then in the time horizon, obviously traditional human resource management dealt with day-to-day issues and managed that, whereas strategic is the word strategy already tells you it's a long-term perspective. That's looking at 3-year, 5-year, 10-year planning. The roles then obviously changed. Under the traditional human resource, they were involved in enforcing policies and procedures, ensuring legal compliance and maintaining employee records. Whereas in strategic human resource management, HR professionals play a key role in contributing to business strategy, identifying talent needs, and fostering employee development, creating a positive work culture. So we come up to a new one, which is strategic competency. Now, strategic competency are the factors that give an organization its competitive edge. So strategic competency is what sets an organization apart from its competitors and their ability to meet customer needs. Quick one. Fire away, Apple. What's Apple's strategic competency? You should know this. Come. What is your understanding? They're the best organization, top organization. Apple, what is their strategic competency? Think of what we're studying. What's their competency? Anybody, type in the chat box. Take a gamble. Think of what you're studying. Who's doing that? Who's handling technology? Who's handling innovation? Who's managing customer needs? Who? Who's doing all this? Where does its competency lie? Its core competency. Where does Apple's core competency lie? Where does it achieve its strategic competency that puts it ahead of the market? It's very interesting. No. Who is senior management? I'll explain to you. They have one of the most phenomenal talent acquisition programs. The reason that Apple maintains its core competency is that they hire highly skilled staff. They hire the best of the best in the industry. They only take the cream, nothing below that, just right at the top, the very top part of the cream. In every division, in every department, they only want the best of the best that works for them. Their core competency lies in the accumulated knowledge. So they're a knowledge organization. They are a knowledge organization, meaning that they have developed their internal knowledge through the sharing of knowledge from hiring top talent. Their human resource, their strategic human resource department, and their talent acquisition is the fundamental core competency behind Apple's success. That is what they strive for. They will only hire the best of the best and get the right people with the right skills. They're prepared to pay. They'll pay for it. They'll give whatever benefits. They want the delivery. That's where they chase. We're going to study them a little bit more in depth. We want to study how they do this. It's a case study I've got planned for you. We want to look at how they run this. They run massive training programs. This is their training and certification. It's an industry certification that they run on their Apple systems. And it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. So they run on top of what you must understand. It does not mean that I come in and I know it all. That doesn't happen in the Apple culture. You don't come in and say you know it all. That doesn't work. They work on a basis. They want your skills, they want your knowledge, but it's on a sharing basis, and they'll share with you as well. And their sharing is where they train you within their systems and how their operations happen. So you can now help to enhance those systems and develop innovative ideas to keep improving and building and progressing up, or to transferring, how to take that knowledge and transfer it as well. Excellent. How do you transfer that knowledge to the rest of the staff? You've got better ideas, you can contribute to it. We're looking at the technical aspect, and if we think the customer service aspect is ignored, you're vastly wrong. So we're going to look at an example, a case study, another one, which is the Ritz-Carlton. The Ritz-Carlton have established something known as the gold standard. We're going to look at that there, the gold standard with the Ritz-Carlton, phenomenal. The basic principle behind the Ritz-Carlton is that they treat a potential candidate the way they would treat a guest. So when you come in for an interview, you are treated as though you are a high-paying guest. And remember, at the Ritz-Carlton is normally high net worth individuals that are staying in there. So you're getting a 5-star fabulous experience coming in as a candidate for an interview. And one of the core features of that process is each staff member is totally updated on your photograph and your name, and they identify with you. So when you walk in, good morning, Mr. Sani, how are you doing? So Sani, welcome to the interview. Please follow James over here. He's going to take you through. And then James turns around, morning, Mr. Sani, lovely to have you on board. I'm sure you're going to do exceptionally well through the interview process. And then you go through with him. And they give the whole 5-star treatment. When you enter into the interview process, they have a lobby area. That's fully set up. There's a whole buffet available out there. You can help yourself to various coffees, teas from around the world, the various cakes, desserts, everything. There's a violin and a cello player as well, a piano. They got a whole little setup going on in the corner over there. All the staff are dressed spotless. They're immaculate, dressed up, and they guide you into the interview process. After the interview process, there's a manager that's available that chats with you. How did the interview go? Everything. Once you're done with the chat, you are given a gift to thank you for attending the interview, regardless of whether you're successful or not. They give you a gift. James is there. He escorts you back out the hotel again. Back out again. And on some instances, they even send a chauffeur-driven car to pick you up from your wherever you need to be picked up, and they'll drop you off again. So it's called a gold standard. And if you get into that game, you know you're into the big game. And it's a culture that they've spread throughout their organization to such an extent that organizations around the world started turning around. And they got on the phone and they said, hey, how do you guys do this? We're not in the hotel industry, so we're not in competition with you. We don't have any hotels, and we're not planning on opening any hotel, but it's just phenomenal. And is there a way we can learn? Is there a way we can train, implement? How can we work on this? So one guy phoned, 2, 3, 4. I said, hang on a second. So there's business here. There's business. Why are these guys phoning? And the phone didn't want to stop ringing. I said, there's definitely an opportunity here. So the Ritz-Carlton opened a college. They realized it. They opened a college. And there's the Ritz-Carlton College. So they say, no hassle, send the guys over. We'll train them. So every single employee that enters the Apple, that's on that sales floor when you enter that Apple store, they've got to go through the Ritz-Carlton training program and get the certificate of the gold standard. And then only are they allowed to come in and work in an Apple store, because they are customer facing. Anyone that has customer facing responsibilities needs to go through that process before they land up there. Yeah, you'll get the selection, everything. Brilliant, but now you get back there and you go and do the exam. You go for the training to the college, you get this certification, you pass, that's the only time you're allowed to walk in. And then they'll have an induction process coming through from Apple as well. So this is the phenomenal level that Apple applies in terms of skills and driving skills and driving their whole talent acquisition, their talent management program, training, such that they know the absolute core competency of their organization is their skill base, their employee skill base, the human resource factor. So because they value that and they realize that's their greatest competency, they throw everything, the kitchen sink, the bathroom, everything gets thrown into that there to ensure that they keep focusing and building up on that there. So that is Apple's competency. Apple's competency and strategic edge, their strategic advantage, comes from their HR policies, their whole strategic human resource management, their talent acquisition program, their talent retention programs, their training programs, all that are phenomenal. Phenomenal. That is where they push. People always say, I want to go and work for Apple. You know why? Why that identification is there. And naturally, for whatever God knows reason, you might want to leave that organization after being employed there, and you want to look out in the market, they're going to grab you. You would never be standing without an employer, not after coming out through those kind of service trainings. Those kind of in-service trainings are beyond value. People are going to be bending over to take you on. So it's definitely the market leading one in that there. Right, let's pick it up then. So the competencies include a skill, process, or knowledge that a company possesses. They have value to the customer, and it's difficult for competitors to duplicate. You'd think this is simple, but Apple have definitely created it in such a way. Oh, Naimani, I'm not sure what's happening on your side. Is anyone else experiencing that there? It should not be blocked. Anyone on the internet can open this. It's public. I'll share the link again. You might be experiencing a problem with the organization laptop. If you're using it from an organization, yeah, if you're using it from within your organization, then that can be a hassle. So an organization's core competence is a combination of intangible assets, such as knowledge and skills, standards and values, explicit know-how and technology, as well as management processes and assets and endowments, such as image, relationships, and networks. Right, strategic goals. They're important. Because they drive priority setting, resource allocation, capability requirements, and budgeting activities. They inform individual and team objectives. They inform marketing operations, IT, and human resource plans for the coming years. They also provide benchmarks for comparing planned and actual results. So these are strategic goals. These are done at the highest level of the organization. All right, so we've come up to this section. This section is called HR models. Now, unfortunately, it's not covered on our slides over here. So we're going to wrap up with this one and then come back there. Okay, let's follow through with the slides and we come back to that and I'll explain that in detail. So it's not covered here, but I'm going to cover it so you'll follow my notes as well. Make sure you keep my notes safely. All right, let's just wrap up with the slides here before we get to the models. All right, in strategic human resource management versus human resource management, as we are just looking, what was strategic, what is traditional, we covered that in the notes. And then we looked at the various focus and approaches of HR versus strategic HR. And then we looked at these integration, the horizontal integration, as well as the vertical integration here. So it's a nice model that shows you this whole relationship that's built up. So this is the goal of strategy, what we're just discussing, these strategic goals. So you have the means, you have the ends. You have the means, you have the end. The means are what you need to get to the ends. How do you get to the end? Bridging that gap is strategy and tactics. We deploy and we employ. Very nicely put. So to get from there to there, you need strategy and tactics to bridge this gap. This is the bridge. The bridge is strategy and tactics. How do we do that? Deploy and employ. All right, we are talking now competency and distinctive core competencies, which are aligned with strategies to give a competitive advantage. And this is a strategic business human resource management model. So you see the alignment right at the top. Business strategy and human resource strategy are aligned. The first portion over here, they both are aligned. So these two over here are aligned. Sorry, my squiggly writing. Then we have HR effectiveness and HR practices. So that's the next level down that we have. And those two combined, we then have the next section, which is what's ultimately the outcome of that there, which is HR policy outcomes, the competence, the commitment, and the flexibility. So the ultimate outcome over here brings us across over there to HR policy outcomes, competency, commitment, and flexibility. And that then has an impact on the organization. This here is then the oh, excuse me, organization out here. We're going to look at another one of this again. So these are the quality of goods or services and the productivity. So the ultimate impact is that we improve quality of goods, we improve the level of our service, and we drive productivity. Here it is. We improve the quality of our goods. We improve service. We improve service levels, and we drive productivity, or we'll say we drive efficiency. We drive efficiency, or rather, let's make that specific, operational efficiency. So that there is the ultimate run of this year. And naturally, if we've then got that, that then gives us that there then, oh, come on, where did my pen go? That results in the overall benefit, which is increased financial performance. So you find your financial performance will go up. So if you see the relationship now you can see how it relates and the cycle that happens. Business strategy and human resource management strategy are aligned. They are equal. They are aligned. That alignment is translated into human resource policies and outcomes. It will improve, it will deliver competence, it will deliver commitment or loyalty from the staff. It will also deliver flexibility. Those factors, those outcomes of human resource management and performance management will then result in the improvement of the quality of our goods, improve the service levels, drive operational efficiency. And those improvements will then result in an increase in financial performance. So that's the whole relationship that you see from strategy, the relationship between strategy and human resource management. So this is how you would read this model. It's good, I think most of you are early in the game. As you're working through this, you're going to learn a lot more about these kind of conceptual models and theoretical models. And you'll need to develop one when you start your research. When you get into your research, understand what a model is. The model shows the relationship. So if you type out a research question,
Mr. Anish,
yes.
Somebody raised hand, Mr. Dunder. Yeah. You cannot see.
Yes. Hi, Damla.
Yeah, Anish, I didn't want to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Because you were talking. Can you please go back to the slide? So I saw something, the flexibility after the HR policy outcome and so on. Yes. Could you please describe more? What do you mean by flexibility here?
Okay. Flexibility over here refers to agility, to being agile. We are referring to where that taking the modern concept of an organization together, organizations need to be more agile. In other words, you should be able to shift according to market demands. So it's important that human resource management develop policies and develop the training of the staff to align with agility. We need the organizations in order to manage the turbulent times that we live in, from geopolitical to disasters to market changes to things like the pandemics, all these things that have happened and are going to continue to happen and continue to disrupt business, including technological disruptions that are coming on the market. These are all disruptions that the organizations are facing. So in order to be effective and to meet these challenges head on, it's important that organizations are flexible or agile. And that's a whole new topic to understand how to turn an organization agile and exactly what is required in being agile within an organization. But in simple terms, it means that you should not be fixed. You should not only be fixed on one angle. So from a
This
human
kind of
resource,
sorry,
yeah,
is this kind of
go.
like a change management? Like if anything comes up that we have to be revising
Precisely.
ourselves to do. Yeah, okay, got it.
Precisely.
Thank you.
Precisely. You couldn't have said it better. Thank you. Yes. All right. So if you looked at a question over here, investigating the impact of strategic HR policy development on financial performance. If you developed a research question like this here, which would perfectly suit this, investigating the impact of strategic human resource management, so it'd be SHR, strategic human resource management would be the M. The investigating the impact of strategic human resource management policy development on financial performance, regardless of whichever sector. Then this is how you would develop a causal model or a conceptual model. Conceptual model wants to show a causal relationship. A causal relationship means a cause and effect. So the improvement here results in the improvement there, which overall creates the improvement there. So the more attention we pay there, the more we're going to increase there. That's the relationship that happens. All right, everyone with me? Thank you there, Damla Danda. Nice question. Okay, let's look at an activity over here. Think of the business context you're familiar with in the HR personnel field. I'm going to skip that one there. Is the term HR? So within your organization, within your current experience, not only your organization, I'm going to say in your years of experience, it is just what we were talking about earlier. If the name human resource management was adopted in place of personnel management, how was this reflected in changes of policy and practice? But we've discussed this in detail. I'm going to skip there. Okay, we come to references here. I don't know this book. Let's go and see what is this book. I'm not aware of this book. Okay, yeah. So it's Edwin B. Flippo. It's a textbook from him. So there is a recommended book in here that you can have a look at, but I think it's quite outdated at 1980. If you want textbooks, I can check for more modern textbooks than that one there. It's not necessary to only follow that. All right. So we now come up to, obviously we've come to the end of the slide pack. However, we have a challenging situation for ourselves. So we're going to continue to develop on the assignment brief. Now, let's go back into here. So we had discussed this is in the COVID-19 pandemic. You're looking at the global shutdown, and obviously you now have to go remote. And this is related to how the organization went remote. And you've got to put yourself in a simulated position as the Vice President of Human Resource Management. And there are various points that are required over here. However, I said we're going to dig into the grade descriptors. So if you pull down here, right, now we have this one here, the effect of strategic human resource management and human resource management on organizational performance. So that was executive summary. Yeah, question number 2. Question number 2 over here says, provide a brief introduction of the organization and critically analyze the role of different HR functions in enabling the organization to achieve its strategic objectives while reviewing staffing, developing, and compensation practices in detail. Right. Now this here, the role of human resource functions over here. So if we go into the grade descriptor, let's try and take this bigger. Right. Now, if we read the grade descriptor here, it says, an exceptional analysis of the literature is developed. It summarizes and shows synthesis of the literature information, including identification and analysis of gaps. Strong linkage is established among all the organizational performance outcomes like growth, profitability, return on investment, competitive advantage, legal compliance, strategic objectives, attainment, and key stakeholder. So if you want to, you can easily create a model like this or take this model and use the model directly from here. Look for it on Google and do a Harvard reference with the model. Right. Strong linkage is established among all the organizational performance outcomes there. Now, at the bottom of that there, we then have a key factor. Under the grade descriptors over here, the examiner is going to look that you include Dr. Dave Ulrich's strategic human resource model and that it's clearly synthesized and no obvious errors in referencing or grammar or syntax. So you see across here, they are asking you for Dr. Dave Ulrich's model. Now the slides have come to an end and the slides do not cover that there. So we've identified this is a loophole and we have to go through an updation process. So in the interim, I am now including this with all the classes will now receive this as an additional feature. So it's now included here in my notes. We covered the HR models. So we're going to go in detail to, well, not in detail. We're going to look at an overview of all 4 models. Dr. Dave Ulrich, the Harvard HR model, the Warwick HR model, and the 5Ps HR model. And then we will focus, because the assignment asks us for Dave Ulrich's model, we'll then focus on Dave Ulrich's model. So we look first at an overview, all 4, and then we'll focus into Dave Ulrich's model. So in order to answer that question, you need these notes that I'm supplying over here. I will also share a copy with you. Gamble training certification, that didn't help much for this one. We need okay, so this is a nice slide pack too that I've got on board. And this takes us through some of the HR models as well, which I'll also include in your weekly email that I'll send out tomorrow. And then we'll cover this over here as well. So we'll look at this over here as well, but it's a nice way to bring you into the models as well of human resource management. And we'll go through all of them. Okay, so we'll get started on this. All right, so let's get started on this here. So there are 4 HRM, HR management models. And the first one is Dr. Dave Ulrich's model. He's currently known, he's a professor as well at the universities. Professor Ulrich's model he's presently considered the father of the modern day father of human resource management or strategic human resource management. Building on that, there we have the Harvard University HR model. And then from that, there we also have the Warwick Human Resource model and the 5 Ps HR model. So let's look at an overview of this. Dave Ulrich's model came about in the late 90s, once we really got stuck into human resource management. And this ultimately was leading through to strategic human resource management. So it's important to understand is that his model, where it places, I constantly refer you back here. So his model came in here. His model facilitated the transition from this function to that function. This is in the evolutionary process. The Dave Ulrich model came in here. So it ultimately facilitated this transition. That's the important understanding there. So naturally, the question that comes in is, now, Moni, you got to look for that book on your own. I'll check if I've got any textbooks over here to share. I'll share it in your weekly email with you. Dave Ulrich's model, we can't say can be totally effective 30 years later. There are vast differences between the organizational structure and design in 96 and in 2026. 30-year gap. As human resource management has evolved, so has organizations evolved. So in saying that, I'm not saying let's kick it out the door and say, bye-bye, Dave Ulrich, we don't want to listen to you. The challenge in the 90s was these huge organizations that had formed, giant organizations that did not know in the end of how to maneuver. They'd lost that flexibility. They couldn't understand how to get themselves organized and bring all the staff together under an umbrella and being able to achieve a single goal. There were too many independent silos being formed. There was lack of horizontal integration. There was also developing a lack of direction or focus. So this is where Ulrich's model came in. And Ulrich's model facilitated the ability of organizations to improve their human resource management functions by giving them specific roles. So he took all the silos away. He said, it doesn't matter whether you work in marketing, finance, procurement, HR, whatever, it doesn't matter. We now look at it as one organization. And then within that organization, we now create new divisions, hybrid division. So in other words, it does not matter which department you're in. These are at the highest level. They're creating an umbrella. So Dave Ulrich created an umbrella where he created four very specific functions. So number one, there was the strategic department. So anything that you had to do with strategy and you were at that level of management, he classified you into the strategy department. regardless of whichever division or department you worked in, he slotted you into that. So all the strategy guys are in one basket and you guys got to start talking to each other. That was his understanding. Then guys that were involved in the operational activities, ran the operation side of things, he then bagged them together, created an administrative function. And they were then involved in the day-to-day running of the organization. And similarly, he went through each one. So we would think that today, currently, with us being at least, I'd say at least 8 years ahead into Agile, from the initial outcomes of Agile when it first started coming up, late 2016, early 2017, and it really started to be catching on and coming through from the software development, and this really started to start now permeating through and filtering into all organization. Organizations have definitely adapted. And then we had the massive COVID pandemic, which was really and truly a do or die situation. You survived or you died. There was no in between option. When it came to COVID, organizations had two choices: either they survived or they died. They went extinct, gone, bye-bye. We don't see them again. So those kind of events have fundamentally changed organizations, and then they're not the same. So when we consider that, then is then Dave Ulrich's model still relevant? Yes, very much so. Organizations still follow it, use the principles in different aspects. It's now been enhanced and carried forward, and his teachings are still very much relevant. He's still, as I said, considered the father of HR. So his role in this year is still very strong. Let's take a 15-minute break. I love the topic, and I can talk on forever, but I'm going to get into the actual model when we come back. And then we'll hear from Dr. Dave Ulrich himself, and let's listen to his perspective as well. So let's go for a 15-minute break. We'll come back at 8:50. 15 minutes on your side. We'll come back at 8:50, and then we'll get stuck into an overview of all the models, and we'll get totally into Dave Ulrich as well. Thank you. Okay, let's get going. So we spoke about the Dave Ulrich model. Let's look at the overview of it. If you're looking for a comprehensive human resource management that considers every aspect of employee experience, then you look no further than Dave Ulrich's model, which you're going to go into absolute detail now. As I said, it focuses on 4 key areas: the strategic partner, the change agent, the administrative expert, and the employee champion. Through focusing on these areas, HR professionals can align HR practices with the overall business objectives and manage change effectively to ensure operational efficiency and prioritize employee well-being. The strategic partner role is particularly important as it involves working with senior management to identify strategic goals and align human resource practices accordingly, as well as the function that is added on the employee champion, which ensures that employees' needs and concerns are heard and addressed, creating a more engaged and satisfied workforce. Then the Harvard Human Resource Model. The Harvard HR model emphasizes the importance of considering stakeholder interests when developing HRM policies and practices. The model has 4 main components as well, and these include situational factors, stakeholder interests, HRM policy choices, and HRM outcomes. So the situational factors component, this emphasizes understanding the organization's external and internal environment, and it allows HR professionals to tailor their policies to the specific needs of the organization, as well as considering the needs and interests of stakeholders. The HRM policy choices component measures the effectiveness of HRM policies and practices in achieving the organization's goals and objectives. So after the Harvard one, we then have the Warwick HR model. So the Warwick HR model also follows a similar thing on factors. However, it only has 3 main components: contextual factors, HRM content, and HRM outcome. The contextual factors emphasize the importance of understanding the organization's extent and internal environment, including the cultural and economic context. The HRM content component involves developing HRM policies and practices that align with the organization's goals and objectives. Then we have the 5 Ps HR model, and this focuses on 5 key components: philosophy, policies, programs, practices, and performance. So this model emphasizes the importance of having a clear HRM philosophy that aligns with the organization's goals and objectives. So you have your 5P model. However, from those 4 models of human resource management, as per our assignment brief, we are required to focus on Dave Ulrich's HR model. So the Dave Ulrich model has had a profound impact on the field of human resource management by transforming the way HR professionals operate within organizations. And his approach to human resource management involved a transformation through the introduction of 4 key roles that focused on value-adding activities, enabling HR professionals to become respected business partners. So Dave Ulrich is a renowned human resource guru. He significantly influenced the field of human resource management with his groundbreaking model. The Dave Ulrich HR model has reshaped the way HR professionals operate by introducing 4 crucial roles that add value to the organization. So as a result of this, we find that the human resource management function has evolved from a function-oriented approach to a partnership-oriented one, and enabling professionals to become a respected business partner. So remember, that's where it's coming in. So he has facilitated that transition. So when we talk of the transformation role of human resource management that has been facilitated by this model, Let's look a little more in depth as to what that is. What does that refer to? So it's gone from a functional to a strategic focus. The model encourages HR professionals to adopt a more strategic mindset, focusing on activities that contribute to the organization's success rather than simply performing administrative tasks. Increased collaboration. As HR professionals take on partnership roles, they need to work closely with other business functions to align their efforts with the organization's overall strategy and objectives. There's also the development of new competencies. The Ulrich model requires HR professionals to develop a diverse set of skills and capabilities, such as strategic thinking, change management, and financial acumen. It also involves the enhanced organizational impact. This is done through the focus on value-adding activities. And here, HR professionals can directly contribute to the organization performance by driving better outcomes and results. Remember our model. So see the effect, the impact across. So the overall transformation has led to a more strategic focus, increasing collaboration and the development of new competencies and an enhanced organizational impact. And this has given birth to strategic human resource management. Right, so let's go into the guide to split roles and responsibilities between taking the front of office, the back of office, and driving it from a center of excellence. However, to fully realize the potential of the Ulrich model, it's crucial for HR leaders to maintain a balance between each role, adopt best practices, and continuously adapt to the changing needs of the organization. So can we find a picture of it over here so that you get stuck into it? Now. So this is to actually look at the model rather than just talking about it, do you me? No, still not coming out good. Just give me a second. See where I can get a good picture of this here. Oh, much better. Okay, so this is the Dave Ulrich model of HR management that we've been chatting about. He's got 4 parts to it. We have the strategic partner, the administrative expert, the change agent, and the employee champion. So you see that way drives future strategic focus, and that way drives day-to-day operational focus. So processes to people. So this can be said to be involved in processes, and here are the impact on the people over here. So this here is the Dave Ulrich model. Right. So the first one that we want to have a look at is talent management. As we said, talent management is very important function, and we need to look at that in a little bit more detail. So the Ulrich's HR model focuses on strategic partnership, and it emphasizes the importance of talent management in achieving organization goals. And this is done by involving robust talent acquisition and development strategies that will ensure the organization has the right people in the right roles at the right time. Furthermore, HR professionals must develop effective performance management system that will align employee performance with organizational objectives and foster a culture of continuous learning and development. Then we have the employee engagement. So as employee champions, HR professionals need to play a crucial role in driving employee engagement by fostering a positive and inclusive work environment. So that is what we were talking about earlier. This function seems to be lacking in a majority of HR departments. The Ulrich HR model has led to a renewed focus on understanding employee needs, preferences, and expectations, as well as enabling HR professionals to design and implement programs and initiatives that cater to these needs. Then we look at organizational culture. The Ulrich model has underscored the need of HR professionals as change agents responsible for shaping and sustaining a strong organizational culture. So HR professionals also play a key role in driving cultural change during periods of organizational transformation, such as mergers or acquisitions. And then we look at leadership development. So the Ulrich model has highlighted the importance of leadership development as a critical component of an organization's success. In their role as strategic partners, HR professionals must collaborate with business leaders to identify and develop high potential individuals in preparation for future leadership roles. So what we've done is that we've gone anti-clockwise. Administrative, employee champion, change agent, and we've ended at the strategic partner. We've gone anti-clockwise, clockwise that way. This is anti-clockwise, and we've just highlighted each of those roles in detail. So we went through them: talent management, employee engagement, organizational culture, taken us through, and leadership development. Then diversity and inclusion. The Ulrich model has reinforced the need for HR to be employee champions and advocate for diversity and inclusion in the workplace. This entails promoting a culture of respect, understanding, and appreciation for individual differences and ensuring that workplace policies and practices support these values. So by understanding and implementing these 4 key roles of the Ulrich HR model, HR professionals can better align with the organization's objectives and drive value across a range of HR areas. So to fully realize the potential of this model, human resource needs to maintain a balance between each role and adopt the best practices. And it's not a stagnant role. It is a constant adaptation, and it's always fluid. So now we've gone through this, but taking them into detail. The first one is the strategic partner. Here, HR professionals obviously work with the organizational leaders to align HR activities and initiatives with the organization's overall strategy. The change agent, now we're going clockwise. The HR professionals play a crucial role in driving and supporting organizational change. They help the organization navigate transition such as mergers, acquisitions, or restructuring. And then the administrative expert. The administrative expert role, this focuses on delivering efficient and cost-effective HR services to the organization. Then the employee champion. As employee champions, HR professionals advocate for employees' needs and interests. They are responsible for creating a positive work environment that promotes employee engagement, satisfaction, and retention. And we said that is a large part of what's lacking in current human resource management. That employee well-being, that employee champion. This function of human resource management, as per Dave Ulrich, is what's currently lacking. We're not seeing this happening. Benefits of the Ulrich HR model. The Ulrich HR model has numerous benefits, including a more responsible and flexible HR organization. So let's look at some of that then. Give me a second. Sorry, 1 minute. I just need to separate these so that we can see them better than the way they currently set up. So there are goals to each one of them. All right, okay, so we have them separated. Let's go through to create the final run. Okay. There, now you've got a better idea of the benefits of the Ulrich model. Yeah. All right, that's the benefits of the Ulrich model. So it starts off with a more responsible and flexible human resource organization. The Ulrich model encourages a shift from a function-oriented approach to a partnership-oriented one. And this shift enables HR professionals to be more responsive to the changing needs of business and adapt their strategies and practices accordingly. There's also increased focus on value-added activities. This helps HR departments demonstrate their strategic significance and drive better business outcomes. The development of HR professionals as respected business partners. This enhances the status of HR professional to have a more significant impact on the organization and contribute to its strategic direction. So it's a huge jump up from when they were just welfare officers in 1880 and 1890 to now being a recognized part of the business management. The 140, 130 odd years has definitely transitioned the role of human resource management. There's also better alignment with organizational strategy and objectives. By balancing all four roles, HR leaders can ensure that their efforts align with the organization's overall strategy and objectives. It's also involved in the other benefit of the Ulrich model is improved collaboration across the organization. And this includes facilitating cross-functional communication and driving initiatives that support the organization's goals. Enhance HR competencies and capabilities. This is to stay current with the industry trends and best practices and bring innovative solutions to the organization. I don't know. Greater employee and satisfaction. Here, HR professionals can create a positive work environment that promotes engagement, retention, and productivity. So you can see the widespread benefits of the Dave Ulrich model. It presents a variety of advantages, including more dependable and adjustable HR organization, amplified concentration on value-adding actions, growth of HR professionals as esteemed business collaborators, and everything else that we discussed over there. So by appropriately implementing the four essential roles of the Ulrich model into their system, organizations are able to infuse added worth across all departments while driving success for them overall. Now we come to the main part. So they're talking there about appropriately implementing it. So how do we implement the Ulrich HR model? This is the important concept. How do we implement this Ulrich model in an organization? The following steps can guide organizations in implementing this. I'll just do the same thing again. to give you this breakdown on this answer. Right, okay. So they need to define and communicate the roles. By clearly defining and communicating the 4 HR roles, the labor force can understand the expectations and responsibilities associated with each role, as well as how these roles contribute to the organization's strategic objectives. HR. So this clarity can help foster a shared understanding of the model's purpose and benefits, laying the foundation for effective execution. Establish strong collaboration. This is a collaborative approach that can help HR professionals better understand the needs of the organization and align their efforts with strategic objectives and drive value-added activities. Invest in HR professional development. This investment can help HR professionals stay current with industry trends and best practices, enabling them to bring innovative solutions to the organization. Then aligning a human resource structure with the model. This kind of alignment can help create a more effective and efficient HR organization that is better equipped to deliver on the model's objectives. The next one is very important. Set clear performance metrics and expectations. The fundamental rule of performance metrics. Who can tell me what's the fundamental rule of performance metrics? What's the fundamental rule of What's the number one rule that you should not break? Performance metrics are also known as KPI, your key performance indicators. So in developing and designing, in establishing that KPI, in developing and defining that KPI, what should be the number one rule? What do you want to avoid and should not happen? Correct. So it should not be biased or subjective. You need to design it in such a way that it is not biased and it is not subjective. Thank you, Naimani. So that's the correct answer. You should avoid any bias. What kind of bias do we have? Things that allow maybe a certain age group that would favor them to answer that question more positively than a younger age group. Items that would favor, that lean the KPI more favorably, they would have an unfair advantage compared to others. We need to check that the KPI are neutral and everybody whose KPIs need to be evaluated are standardized. There is no bias applied where any individuals would have an unfair advantage. In other words, it's a level playing field. So that's what you want to achieve with the KPI. So why do you want to achieve this? Is that the line manager or the next manager that comes into line that has to evaluate or analyze the KPI results, they as well have got to avoid bias. And the point of it is they cannot favor a specific individual. They have to follow then the guidelines provided by the KPI and analyze and assess that. So even if they like me and I've gone out with them on a conference or whatever, and they've seen how well I've reacted, how well I've worked with them, they cannot favor me in advance of others. They have to evaluate my performance based on the established KPIs. You cannot create one KPI for me and everybody else has a different KPI. So you need to avoid these kind of biasness or subjectivity in designing and creating the KPI. So when we say you set clear performance metrics, they also need to be achievable. The metrics that you set out there to gauge and analyze the staff's performance need to be achievable. They need to be attainable. They should not be designed for, you get organizations that design these things to ensure that you fail and that they can tell you that you haven't succeeded. And therefore you cannot be asking for a promotion or a salary increase because based on merit, you're not entitled to it. Whereas, however, the KPIs were created in such a way that no one can actually achieve all of those in that one given time span, that 1 year. That's the meaning behind that there. So HR leaders should regularly assess the performance of the model, make adjustments as necessary to address emerging challenges or capitalize on new opportunities. And it should be done in an iterative approach, in phases. Iterative is in phases, in stages, in steps, to help organizations maximize the value of the Ulrich model and ensure its continued success. So by keeping the best practices in mind, organizations can successfully implement the Ulrich HR model, which will lead to an improved and strategic HR function. There are again numerous advantages such as increased collaboration, amplified HR capabilities, alignment with corporate strategy, higher employee engagement and satisfaction. So in saying that, there are also some negative aspects, potential pitfalls and cons behind that there. And while that is good, one challenge lies in ensuring that HR professionals possess the necessary skills and competencies to excel in each role. This diverse skill set requires for each role may necessitate additional training and development that can become resource intensive. Moreover, some HR professionals may find it difficult to transition from a traditional function mindset to a more strategic partnership-oriented approach. Another pitfall is to avoid the risk of becoming siloed within the HR function. As we said, where finance works on its own, they have their own HR section, procurement works on its own, marketing works on its own. So avoid that kind of siloing, because that would go against Ulrich's model. Ulrich's model is designed to integrate all the organizations. Additionally, successful implementation of Ulrich's HR model can require significant organizational change, and this can be challenging to manage. So HR leaders must be prepared to navigate resistance to change and work closely with the organizational leaders to ensure a smooth transition. And this can involve developing a detailed change management plan, securing good sponsorship, and engaging employees throughout the process. As we said, this Dave Ulrich model has transformed the role of HR in organization, and it's enabled HR professionals to become true business partners. By understanding and implementing the 4 key roles, HR leaders can better align with the organization's objectives and drive value. And they obviously need to be aware of the pitfalls and the best practices in using this model. Okay, let's listen to Dr. Dave Ulrich. Okay, let's listen to Dr. Dave Ulrich himself.
my job is I have the privilege of going around North America, Europe, Latin America, Asia Pacific, the Mideast, and really trying to figure out what's happening in the field of human resources today. What a great opportunity. And I'm so grateful for literally thousands of HR professionals who teach me far more than I teach them. But as I go around, one of the things I'm running into is a very common challenge. Let me frame it with a question. And if you're thinking about what's happening in the field of HR in a nutshell, think about this question. What's the biggest challenge I face in my job today? As an HR person, what's the biggest challenge I face in my job today? When I run workshops and seminars, I often begin with that question. And here's what I often hear. I am struggling to gain credibility. I am struggling to get access to the senior manager. I'm struggling with talent. We're trying to find good people. This war for talent is continuing no matter what the economic cycle is. I'm trying to redefine an HR practice, to do better training, to do better compensation, to do better work redesign. I'm trying to redefine communications. I'm trying to restructure the HR department. Whatever you put on your list. As I've thought about that list, seminars, I often begin with the challenge I face in my job today. When I run workshops and seminars,
Let's take that question across to you. Before we continue it out, let's take that question across here. What is the biggest challenge I am facing in my job? Don't tell me salary. We all want more money. Don't tell me salary. That's not the answer. What is the biggest challenge I'm facing in my job today? Type in the chat box. Then we'll pick up the video again. It'll make it easier for you to be interactive with it. So what is the biggest challenge you're facing in your job today? Go for it. Think about it. It can't be salary. I know. Cycle of the daily task. Good. Nice one, Ali. I have a few people typing. Let's wait for them. Communication gap between management and employees. It's a serious one, Nagib. What is the biggest challenge? If you had to think and be reflective, you are working. You're at an employment. What's your biggest challenge that you face in your job? I've got two excellent responses here, and I know a few of you have got ready responses as well. They meet staff expectations. That's a challenge in itself. Not being appreciated, I can certainly relate to that there. For employee recognition, definitely. Dealing with old processes that are not supporting the current growth of organizations. Wow, George, nice one. Understanding the peers and each employee understand his job description. Yeah, if only it did happen. Inflexible policies. Overload, less appreciation, no credits. That's the modern one that we work in. We are overloaded. There's very less appreciation. You might get a thank you if you're lucky, and absolutely no credit attached to that there or benefit. Fahad has resource quality and team competencies. Great. A new strategy from a liar. Making staff realize to work efficiently and multitask. Some really good ones coming through. Come on, guys. We've got 27 in the class here. Let's hear it. Every one of you know that you have a challenge. What's the biggest challenge you're facing right now at your work? Thank you for the guys that have contributed. Let's give the other ones to contribute as well. It's very interesting to see what is the most common challenge that we have. In fact, we should have ran a survey. Blaming. Yep. From Walid. Walid says blaming. Unclarity in management. That's a challenging one, Rhonda. Challenging one as well. Unclarity in management. So management have no clarification given. They just issue out instructions and you're supposed to follow. Lack of trust. Now that's an interesting one, Richard. We just spoke about that there. Yearly appraisals are unreachable. That they need to be achievable. You must be able to achieve those kind of KPIs. When they're doing that, they have an ulterior motive behind it. Firas has gone on making the management understand that AI will not replace humans. Rather, they should invest in employees to learn AI to enhance their performance. Yeah. So true, so true. All right, let's pick it up again on the video now that you got some good self-reflection done.
What's the biggest challenge I face in my job today? When I run workshops and seminars, I often begin with that question. And here's what I often hear. I am struggling to gain credibility. I am struggling to get access to the senior manager. I'm struggling with talent. We're trying to find good people. This war for talent is continuing no matter what the economic cycle is. I'm trying to redefine an HR practice, to do better training, to do better compensation, to do better work redesign. I'm trying to redefine communications. I'm trying to restructure the HR department. Whatever you put on your list. As I've thought about that list, what I've begun to discover is that there's 4 circles. And in HR, we're beginning to move from the third circle to the top circle and the bottom circle. Now, let me go through the third circle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Third circle is what I call HR. In tradition, when we've thought about HR and what our challenge is, it's related to HR. Either gaining personal credibility, either doing an HR practice better, or finding some way in HR to do what we do and to do it well. I think for years that was the right model. And we'd see models of HR that would say it's staffing, training, compensation, communication, and that's what HR is about. I think we in recent years have moved up to the second circle. The second circle is strategy. What we're now doing is moving what we're doing to accomplish and deliver against a business strategy. Here's the question you ask yourself. What's the biggest challenge in my job today? Talent, compensation, credibility. Use a 2-word phrase, so that. So that moves me to the business level. And it moves me to the business level so that I can deliver business value. That means meeting the financial goals, meeting the customer goals, delivering a business value that helps us be successful. And in the last decade in HR, I think we've tried to go from activity to the outcome connected to the business. In the recent economic crisis and in recent years with demographics and technology and globalization and economic uncertainty, I think we now move to a top circle, which I'm simply going to call context. The context are some of the economic conditions. We face regulation, we face inflation, we face deflation, we face technology changes, we face industry changes, we face demographic changes. Now we're beginning to say HR is not just linked to the strategy, but it's linked to the external world. In the legacy world, we'd say strategy is a mirror. And when I do HR, I look in the mirror of strategy and I do my HR work. Now we're saying look through the mirror to the external context. How will my HR work be used so that not just strategy happens, but so that we respond to new customer expectations. We anticipate regulatory changes. We come up with ways to respond to technology. We adapt to demographics. And when HR is linked to the context, we're going to be more able to be successful. HR's gone through 3 circles. The first circle is HR activity. What am I trying to do in my job today? I'm trying to do HR work. So that, second circle, we can deliver strategy. So that we can respond to the external challenges we face. Now the fourth circle at the bottom is the one that I've been intrigued with lately. In the world in which we live, because HR has to go from activity to strategy to context, we are feeling more demand than we've ever felt. Almost every HR professional I know is saying, my job is tougher today than ever. I have to do more with less. I have to be more productive. I have to help my company manage change faster. And in HR, we are often on the front lines of that change. In a growth economy, we're pushed to find people to do work in China, in India, and Vietnam. In a down economy, we're the face-to-face person at taking out headcount, at managing cost. All of that bears an emotional burden. The fourth circle is giving care to the caregiver. We in HR are the caregivers of our company. We're the ones who have to have the heart and the soul that helps our company manage that value chain. And we need to take care of ourselves to make that happen. In some of the recent thinking we've been doing is, how do we in HR have the resources to provide help with the demands that we're facing? When we have resources to respond to those demands, we'll be successful. And that's what we need to be able to build. So what's the biggest challenge in my job today? Circle 3, to do good HR work. To be credible, to build good practices, to build good HR organization, so that I build a business strategy and help the strategy happen, so that in the world we live in, we respond and we adapt well. Because of going down to the fourth circle, I have managed my emotional well-being. I've taken care of myself, and I'm fit and able to be a successful HR professional. When we see the lineup of those four circles, I think we're going to be more successful in the work that we do.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. He's brilliant, Professor David, Dr. David Ulrich, Professor Ulrich. Excellent, absolutely excellent in that guide. And if we look out over here on the HR models, so over the last decade, a classic model based on the work of David Ulrich has emerged that has three elements. Recently has added to the element, but these three remain the core. So we're looking at business partners, shared services, and center of expertise. You can see where it lands upward. Establish relationship with customers, your customer line, your business units, contribute to the business unit plans, develop organizational capabilities, implement HR practices, represent central HR, log and need to coordinate HR services, front of office. In your shared services, you deliver HR services, you manage routine processes effectively, and that's in the back office. And then the center of expertise is create HR frameworks, develop and introduce strategic HR initiatives. So this is a variation on his model, bringing it more contemporary. And they've taken some paradoxes on the current models. So why have organizations looked at the HR model? And the drive to look at how HR is organized has in many cases been positive. But it has often been a defensive reaction to pressures from within the organization and from external criticism. So such a defensive reaction will really produce an effective response. So what happens is that you have this accusation coming through that the staff are not committed. They lack loyalty. We have a drop in productivity. Staff don't seem to be motivated to be more productive. We're always having this huge challenge. Procurement guys never know what the hell is happening. No one communicates out in marketing. So those kind of accusations that come through are what drive the response for HR to develop a model to better manage the process. So what they're saying is that there is now a knee-jerk reaction. And instead of it being a reactive process, it should be a proactive process where HR thinks of this in advance and understands and identifies it and then develops processes to prevent this from happening. Not when it happens, then kick off. So that is why in the learning point here, you should be clear as to why you are looking at your HR model. So is it a defensive reaction, or is it about supporting the business? A defensive reaction, you've been accused. HR department has had an accusation against it. It's a reactive response. But if it's a proactive response, then you're doing it to support business and to prevent those kind of things from happening. In implementing the model, looking at the drivers, you look at the skills required, you look at the boundaries, as well as your line managers. So your learning point there is, have you accepted that the model may not work? It can, absolutely. Identifying potential issues specific to you and what you've learned from other people's experiences, rather than assuming it'll work as intended. So the approach then has to be flexible. Ultimately, you have to be able to identify which features are effective and are working and which features are not. So in other words, you have to customize it. And then you address the overall issues. So if you've thought through the potential hurdles, have you put in place the proper procedures to mitigate those? What's your plan? So here's the whole process being written out for you really intensively over here. So if you are running through this, have you considered the breadth of a human resource business role? As human resource being part of the business partner, they have a massive role when they're incorporated into the business partnership. And get past this. I'll share this with you. It's good reading. Can help you, but you got to take some time to understand it. Said it's quite in depth. And then obviously it's the big challenge for global organization. So we're looking at globalization. It's not easy. Let's put it simply. There is no formula. There is no set black and white setup. It's a process that's going to go through, that the human resource department has to go through and understand, and then be flexible and adapt it. So here's a new word that has come up: chardodically. Chardodically. And let's go into that there. So it's a system of an organization or a natural process that is governed by or combining elements of both chaos and order. So it's saying that chaos can be orderly. In chaotic organizations, it must be stood on its head, as it should in all organizations. So you can see it's an intense word. Organizations that have followed a chaotic model include the United Religions Initiative, the Appleseed Foundation, the Northwest Atlantic Marine Alliance. So a new word that you've got. Keep it, you've learned something. So here's something that you're learning, a chaotic organization. So the formation of a chaotic organization. Current forms of organization are almost universally based on compelled behavior. In a sense, it can be said to be on tyranny. Now, the formation of a chaotic organization is a difficult, often painful process, but one is filled with joy and humor. And their entirely different dynamics of judgment, behavior, capacity, and ingenuity can evolve. So forming a chaotic organization begins with an intense search of purpose and then proceeds to people, principles, people, and concepts. So we've learned a new one, chaotically or chaotic organizations. Yeah, so you can follow through this. I'll share this in the weekly email. All right, so let's dig into it. We'll take up this case study next week. We ran out of time today.
I have maybe a short question, Mr. Anish.
Yes, give me a second.
Yeah, all right, thanks.
1 second, 1 second. Go for me now, Manu.
Yeah, maybe a little bit not understanding clear about the chaotic organization and how, what are the characteristics of this chaotic organization and how, as an employee or HR professional, can be able to identify we are in chaotic, or even management, they can see themselves, they are already in chaotic, and how to get out of this.
Yeah, it's as they say, it's a very, very difficult, very complex concept. It's not a simplified concept. It's an advanced concept, but it is so something that you can look into. So here's a good definition of it. There's a book that's out. There is a book on this one here that is written. Hawk has written a book on this. Just give me a second. You can actually get the book as well. Yeah, the book by Hawk. It's called The Nature and Creation of Chaotic Organizations. The chaotic organization. We can try and just see if you can find a PDF. Oh, you'd have to search. You can find a copy of it.
Okay, we'll do it. Thanks.
But out of here, in his book, he defines a chaotic organization as those who self-organize and they blend elements of chaos and order. So it's a very challenging type of organizational format. Generally in organizations, we want things to run in an orderly and in a calm manner. We find that when chaos comes about, we believe that the line manager is running around like a headless chicken and with no direction. But under this concept, it's saying chaos is good. And he believes that chaos drives order. And the vice versa of it, he believes order will lead to chaos. So it's an interesting and deep one. And it's something that is really, if it attracts you now, go into it and go and research it. This is the concept. As I said, it's a very offbeat concept around this concept. Oh, nice. I didn't know that. Leadership in chaotic organizations. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's go and hunt for that there. So in our library, am I right, Michael? I'm going into our library here and we are searching.
Yes. Copy paste that MacArthur Beverly what.
Yeah. I'm picking that up. Right. And we punch that into there. Oh, we're always learning. Always learning. Here we go. Oh, there's it. So the book is there. Naimani, you got a book. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah, we can download the book. Okay, all right. I haven't signed into my account. Or we can read it online as well. See if that will work. Yeah. All right. Brilliant. Brilliant. This will be excellent. I'll also spend some time reading it. Thank you. Thank you very much. We can really go into this here. So it's very nice. Very, very, very good. Thanks for the question, Imani. Absolutely. It's an unusual concept. And I mean, I won't lie that I don't often hear the word chaotic being used very often. It's a rare concept. It's an advanced terminology. But maybe it's one of the best ways to manage the challenges that organizations are currently facing. We live in a very, very challenging environment at the moment. We operate in a very, very challenging environment. So, wow. Thank you. Thank you very much. I love that. Right. We wanted to have a quick review of this. Yeah. So, let's pick this up. I'll do it in a lot more detail again on Monday. And we'll look at this here. So let's go with it. You guys can help me out. So it says provide a brief introduction to the organization. That's your first part of your question. So how do I introduce an organization? How do I introduce an organization when I'm writing a paper? I can't say hello. This is Apple Incorporated. Nice to meet you and shake hands with them. Doesn't happen. How do I introduce an organization in a paper? What's required? Yeah. Well, I'm starting with the introduction, but how do I introduce the organization? What do I have to share? How do I tell you about an organization? Do I come in and tell you Anish's Dishcloth Factory is a very nice company. Anish is a very nice person. We like dealing with him. No, beyond that there, Michael. So what do you need? Yeah, let me explain it because we're running out of time. So you start off first with the organization's mission statement. Whenever you hear the word, a brief introduction of the organization, follow straightforward. Mission statement, vision statement, right? The mission, the vision statement. Then you include the industry background. The next step that you run through, you've got mission statement, vision statement, industry background. You then include the global footprint. So is the organization domestic, national, international, multinational, or global? You do understand the concept there. Domestic, they deal only regionally based over there. National, they'll deal throughout the whole country. International, they've gone just over the border. They're dealing with one additional country over. Multinational, they're now dealing with 3 or 4. They have operations from South Africa. They've now gone and they're dealing with the United Arab Emirates. They are now dealing in Singapore. They are now dealing in Thailand. They're now dealing in Vietnam. So they've got representations in each one of those countries. Maybe they've opened up factories. They've got distribution warehouses set up. That's a global footprint that we want to know. Multinational, several, maybe 10, 12 countries. Global, throughout the globe. Every country you go in, there's a McDonald's. Every country you walk in, there's a Starbucks. That kind of thing is a global footprint. All right, so mission statement, vision statement, industry background, their global footprint. So you're going to discuss that there as a domestic, national, international, multinational, or global. Know the difference and make sure you specify that differentiation across there. Then you need to look at staffing. Do they have 100 employees? Do they have 500 employees? Do they have 1,000 employees? Do they have 100,000 employees? What's they look like? So that's how we bring the organization into perspective. We're able to show the mission and the vision statement outlines the objectives and the goals of the organization. The industry background info, there we're given what the industry's current market is. You can also include over here the CAGR. What's the current market thing of the CAGR? Give you a bit of an explanation of that there. What is... So that is the compound annual growth rate. And then you state that there is currently the market outlook. So market outlook. So you'll say maybe the current market outlook is looking at about it for the next year. They're looking at growing at 5% for the next year. Or they're looking at growing at 8% for the next year. How do they want to grow then? That's the next question that comes in. How are they going to grow? How are they going to achieve that? So it's good to introduce that as well if you want to bring that in as to what their outlook is and what they're intending to achieve on that there. So this is problem solving. Problem solving, we start to break it up. So we break the problem up into sections. We don't just tackle it blind. So you have the first one over here. When you break that down, it is here for you. So the first part of that question tells you what's the introduction of the organization. So that's what you need there. Now let's look at the next one. It tells you, don't read all these things over here that confuse you and chase you away. Don't worry about them. Look at the first, what the problem actually states. So the role of different HR functions. The role of different HR functions are in achieving strategic objectives. See, now it becomes much more simpler when you're able to split it out of that there. So the role of different HR functions in, take it to a verb, in achieving strategic objectives. Simplify it down. The role of different HR functions in achieving strategic objectives. Go back to the notes. Go and look at what are HR functions. There's the functions of HRM. There's it here. It's slide 15. Go and look at slide 15. You can also go look at my notes. Okay, we'll go into much more detail. We're still early in the game here. but this is how you would do an analysis of your assignment question. You need to chop it up. First thing, you need to decide the role of HR functions in strategic objectives. Cover 5. Do 5 of the most important functions. Okay, that should be sufficient. Then they say, while reviewing staffing development and compensation practices. So what they want you to do is to review your next one that would come into, sorry, this 5 functions. Change into the red. Right. The next one out of here says, review, not reviewing, review. Review staffing development and compensation practices. Okay, so go down to your grade descriptor over here. And he says, let's pick this up so that we can read it out. Background on the concepts of human resource management and its function, the linkage to strategic human resource management and organizational performance. You need to make strong links between relevant ideas, theories, and practice. An extensive range of relevant sources. So they want you to choose your Harvard reference articles and come into there. Also drive an argumentative perspective in presenting or demonstrating originality and creativity in the interpretation of staffing development and compensation, and follow your Harvard references. So an argumentative perspective. How do you write as an argumentative perspective? So you do as per your research paper in your Harvard reference, you'd have it as per Ulrich 2020, the recommendation from his research study indicates that staff compensation should be above inflation rates. I'm just writing randomly. However, alternatively, Sampson 2022, in his research study, argues that compensation levels should not be in alignment with inflation. I'm just giving you a totally random example. So that's the type of language that you will need to implement when you are discussing these staffing development and compensation practices. You need to have that type of language. They want an argumentative perspective. Then you take your Harvard reference. That's a recommendation from one research study. They're indicating staffing compensation should be above inflation rate. However, this guy says no, it should not be in alignment with that there. So that's an argumentative methodology that you've got to bring about your answer, not to be an absolute expert in it, but try and integrate that kind of argumentative concept to it. So don't stress about it. It's still very early. What we'll do on Monday, we'll start developing a framework around this year, and we'll look at proper solutions and come up with some good articles as well to work around answering this question. But you've got some indication of the type of answering that you're looking at. and how these answers need to be developed. Remember, your executive summary you do at the end. It's number 1, you put number 1 and you leave it blank. When you have finished number 6, or what is it? Yeah, number 6. When you finish number 6, you come back to number 1 because it is a summary. You cannot answer a summary before you have finished everything. What are you summarizing? What can you summarize? Nothing. So number 1, you write executive summary and you leave it blank. Then you finish your report. Your executive summary is a summary of what your whole report is about. If someone reads the summary, they don't have to go in detail into the paper. They understand the whole paper up front. No, don't get excited with it just yet, Naimani. Don't get into it. I'm not going to go that depth into it on the first lesson. We're going to go into it. We will look at all the aspects of that terminology over there, compensation and everything. It can be different interpretations. Compensation, we're looking at benefits are benefits provided, compensation, annual increases, is it bonuses? We'll look at all that there on Monday. We're not going to jump into it now. It's too much. All right. Any other questions on the project and on the assignment? Otherwise, we call it a night here. I'll see you guys on Monday. I'll send you a lot of resources as well. Some stuff will come through on the email.
Thanks for that clarification. You have done a great work in taking some additional points in the question or assignment. Can you share those points maybe with the team or students? Or
yes, I will. What I will do next week, Monday, is that what we'll do is we'll create a document like this over here. We'll bring a document like this over here up. Give me 1 second. 1 second. Just give me a second. Let me just go into here. No, I've got to go back here. Yeah, that is just give me 1 second. I just want to see why did we here we go. Now, all right, I will get it for you. We'll create a sheet. On that Google Sheet with the whole framework where everyone will contribute to it and we'll work it out together. And then that is what we'll have as a shared resource. I'm not sharing the assignment brief as I'm typing out now. I'm just helping you out with it. I tell you what has happened is that I did this exactly as I've done it over here now, where I've created this, I've written it down, we work together through it, we solve it, someone comes up with a better idea, we contribute into it, and then I shared it as a sample out so everyone has got an example of it. A student took this as it is and submitted this as their assignment. And they handed this paper in exactly as it, I've got it now. They've handed it in. And obviously it got me into a lot of problems and a lot of complications behind it. So I've stopped sharing it. I don't share it because I could not believe that the student thought I'd answered the assignment for him and he didn't have to do any further work. That was the assignment answered, so he submitted that as it stands now. There you go. I've done my assignment. Cheers. So I've gotten myself into a bit of hot water with that there, and I'm not sharing the actual assignment brief out. I'm going to do it rather on a Google document, and we'll work from the Google document together. So Monday, I'll make sure when we start off on Monday, we'll kick off with that Google document, okay? But you've got some ideas to keep you going and get yourself going. Thank you very much. Been absolutely phenomenal. we have a good case study built up again for Monday. Another challenging situation that will simulate and get you to think about it and look at it. So thank you very much. Absolute pleasure. Enjoy the rest of the week and see you back on Monday. Thank you. Cheers. Good night. Thank you. Good night. Good night. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Thank you. I'm going to end the meeting. Thank you.